Resistance Burning Skies, released in 2012 on PS Vita, starts with a message sent by a woman to any survivors. She explains how the US government downplayed the Chimera threat, but the so-called Minutemans discovered the truth and were preparing for the invasion that came in 1951. Then we see a firefighter squad getting into the building. Inside, they are attacked by Chimera, and one of them gets killed, while the other one, named Tommy, survives and grabs a bullseye gun. Place is filled with Chimera, but Tommy reaches Smithy, who gets injured, and he grabs him and carries him out of the building. Soon they spot more Chimera troops dropped over the town, and the battle breaks out. Tommy manages to survive and soon gets info through the radio to head to the Howard Tunnel. On his way, he meets a woman and follows her because she says she knows a shortcut. In the evacuation zone, Tommy meets his wife and daughter. His wife convinces him to escape, but they get attacked by drones, so Tommy stays and orders his family to escape. The woman he met earlier wants to use the military truck to stop Chimera and give others a chance to evacuate, but one of the soldiers received an order not to let anyone near the truck, but I guess he is too injured to defend the vehicle. Inside the truck they find Chimera technology. Tommy manages to defeat the executioner, but soon Chimera swarms are dropped, so they need escape like real fast. Now we see a government broadcast informing that the whole country is under Chimera invasion. The woman's name is Ellie Martinez. She says she can help Tony find his family and introduces him to this guy Bill, who looks like he is in charge here. He tells them where the evacuated people were sent, but refuses to give him veto. Soon the base gets under attack by Chimera, so Ellie and Tommy run away. They manage to fight their way through, but they divide since Tommy is asked by a soldier to help him with a fire in a magazine, while Ellie decides to search for more of those Chimerian tech cubes. After dealing with the fire, Tommy gets down to the lower levels to carry out guns and gets attacked by another executioner. He manages to beat the Chimera mutant, helps Ellie to lift up a precious cargo, but turns out a giant Chimera pops out and Tommy falls down straight into the creature, which seems to be more like a facility than a creature actually. Anyway, Tommy makes a mess inside, and when he gets shaken off, he finishes the job. Impressed Bill gives Tommy and Ellie a VTOL and orders them to go to Cali Station and ask for room 429. Also warns Ellie to stay away from Richard Garrell. When they reach the place, it turns out it is under a heavy Chimera attack. Ellie calls for an air support to destroy the bridge, but soon a VTOL crashes on it and it's too late to call off the air attack, so Tommy decides to jump out and help the survivors. He fights through chimeras and reaches the crash zone, helping one of the soldiers stuck inside the wreckage. Ellie is pissed he took such a risk, but no time for argument, since more chimeras are approaching and there are still survivors to rescue. Plus, the ride is already gone away. So they manage to break through the bridge and Tommy saves Ellie's life when some of the metal ropes start breaking. Roger connects to inform he can't help them no more, as he is too busy fighting chimeras, so they took a boat to get to the Ellis Island. Ellie says that once they grab enough chimera tech, they will find a VTOL there and she is gonna help Tommy to reach his family. Though the research facility is abandoned, it's filled with chimeras, probably because they were subjects of experiments down here. So they get into the Sarpo labs and look for room 429. On their way, they face many traps and Ellie assumes that they were set up by Gorel. She also finds some notes about Project Abraham and gets surprised that Nathan Hale might not be dead. And just for the record, if you didn't figure it, this game takes place between Resistance Fall of Man and Resistance 2. When the duo finally finds room 429, turns out it is empty. Ellie is frustrated, but they hear someone calling from the other side of the door. Well, this guy doesn't sound too healthy, and it turns out, when they find him, he's barely alive. Ellie gives him morphine, and he says it's all in the film. Then he shows them a huge mutant chimera in the next room and actually turns into one himself. After dealing with him, they find Gorell's office and the film he mentioned. It is about the second stage of Project Phoenix. It proves that those blue boxes can actually be used to break individual chimera from the mind hive and make them obey. The projection is interrupted by the alarm going on, and Ellie grabs the film roll and escapes before the door shut down, leaving Tommy alone. But he manages to find another way, and they soon meet just in time for the battle with this big guy. After beating him, they call for vitals, but before they leave, Ellie figures that Gorell wants to use a human source on the Project Phoenix, and it looks like he will use it on people in the refugee camp, the one that Tommy's wife and daughter are currently staying in. Ellie decides they can't just walk through the front door, so they use the underground passage and get to the camp. But actually it's under a Chimera attack and there are signs of battles going on everywhere. Tommy searches for his family, who according to documents should be in a hotel in the East Wing, but the place looks trashed. Tommy searches the building, but he only finds a single soldier defending from the Chimera at the top floor. He informs that everyone has been evacuated to the radio tower. Ellie informs through the radio that she is outside the department store and tells Tommy to get there. She says she found Gorell and that he put up a spire beacon on the tower so the Chimera carriers would pick up everyone and transport them to conversion centers. That sounds like a plan we heard earlier. Few moments later, Tommy spots that his family is already being carried away by Chimera. Tommy starts chasing them. He reaches the radio tower, but it's too late, so Ellie and Tommy decide to pursue after them by getting caught intentionally by Chimera. They are transported to the Chimerian tower. They manage to break through the wall and infiltrate the place, battling enemies until Tommy actually reaches his wife. Well, Natalie is already infected and she doesn't want to change, so she asks Tommy to kill her before it happens. Now Tommy can only hope his daughter Rachel wasn't infected yet. Ellie contacts through the radio and guides Tommy until he reaches her and Rachel, who thankfully wasn't infected. Turns out Ellie also found Gorell, who is here and controls the whole operation, and he actually looks like he was in charge here. Tommy tells his daughter to stay with Ellie and goes after Gorell. Gorell starts to explain that he wants to save lives. He says this sacrifice is necessary and it might be the only chance for humans against Chimera. He also says the operation was approved by US government, so it's not like he's a maniac or something. Well, maybe just a little bit. But it actually turns out that it doesn't work as it should, and a huge Chimera gets awakened. Gorell escapes, leaving Tommy behind. The protagonist decides to destroy the tower, so he informs Ellie to evacuate everyone she can. Then he goes to the tower core room, where he is approached by that huge Chimera he woken up earlier. During the fight, the thing actually crushes the power core and it gets killed by its force. But at the same time, it disturbs the core and the tower starts collapsing. Tommy tries to escape, but he gets attacked by Gorell, who says he could make it work if it wasn't for Tony, who interrupted him. He tries to kill Tommy, but I guess he's too slow to use a gun against the hatchet. So there goes Gorell. Then we see Tommy reaching Ellie and Rachel outside and the tower exploding. Tommy explains to Ellie that those blue cubes need to be destroyed because the government won't stop until they exist. Roger connects through the radio, informing Ellie he is coming to pick up those cubes, and that makes her understand that Tommy is right, so she lies that they were all destroyed. And Roger is like, well, okay, if you say so. So I guess we're gonna just pick you up. But Ellie actually doesn't believe his words and she tells everyone to go with her. But Tommy decides to take his own path and they say goodbye to each other. And then we see a cutscene narrated by Ellie informing that Minutemen stopped trusting the government and Tom Relay became like a real inspiration for many others. And that's